Welcome in to Run the League on 365 Sports. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the schedule that is coming out. Obviously, it's week one of the NFL season, so we're going to go through the schedule and kind of talk about the upcoming games, the matchups, the intriguing reasons why you should want to target certain matchups this week. But I'll get into all that info coming up next. Let's do this. Okay, so the first matchup of the week, let's dive right in. Cowboys Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football. The season is finally here. I think everyone's really excited for the season to get going, excited to see the Super Bowl champs take on a Dallas Cowboys team who I think everyone has high expectations for this year. Even though they had a slow start last year, you saw the offense come together for them. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, even guys like Blake Jarwin, and then, of course, Zeke is kind of the headliner in the backfield. Taking on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Lots of really good matchups this week. A 52-point over-under. The line is 8 points. Tampa Bay just seems like a team that's ready to come right back and try to win another Super Bowl. They returned 24 of 24 starters. Truly amazing that they've been able to do that. This is definitely a game to target. I think you're going to see quite a few points. I think the guys that you're definitely looking at in this matchup are all the passing options for the Cowboys. You definitely want to play those guys. I think the Buccaneers are very susceptible in their secondary, just not so much in the run game, which obviously is going to hurt Zeke a little bit, but you have to start him. You have no choice. He was your first-round pick. Play him. See what happens. Buccaneers, on the other hand, they're going to be able to kind of do whatever they want on the offensive side. This is a really bad defense. I expect the Buccaneers to put up tons of points in this matchup, running the ball and passing the ball. You kind of have to take a step back week one with Fournette and Ronald Jones and, of course, Gio Bernard, just because who's going to be the starting running back. But Godwin, Evans, Antonio Brown, feel good about them. Tom Brady, this is a home run start for Tom Brady in week one against the Cowboys. So then, obviously, the calendar turns over. You go to Sunday, and that's when all the main matchups are. So I'm going to run through each one really quickly, give you a little bit of news and nuggets for each matchup to just kind of help you get kind of a sense for what's coming up on Sunday. So the first one at noon, Seattle Seahawks travel to Indianapolis to take on the Colts, 49.5 over-under. Both have decent defenses and both want to run the football. So I think Chris Carson, Jonathan Taylor, both very good starts in this matchup. I think offensively, you also want to look at guys like Michael Pittman and obviously DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett for Seattle. Quarterback-wise, Russell Wilson is the only one I'm starting. Carson Wentz dealing with too many injuries and, of course, the COVID absence as well. But a good matchup to target. I think both teams will have some success offensively and help your teams out. Also at noon, the Steelers travel to New York to take on the Bills. Obviously, the Bills had a really good year last year. Josh Allen is a guy who I think is going to have another massive season. Steelers, very susceptible in their secondary. I expect Stephon Diggs to have a massive game. Josh Allen as well. Do not start any of the Buffalo Bills running backs. As far as Steelers go, play Najee Harris. Play Big Ben to an extent. Obviously, if he's your only quarterback, you have to play him. If you don't have one of the top 10 guys, then you can play him with relative confidence, especially with the 49-point over-under. The only guy that I'm a little concerned about for the Steelers in this matchup is Deontay Johnson. I think Tre'Davious White will be kind of targeted on him, so I prefer Juju in this matchup. Also, maybe Chase Claypool, depending on how the matchups play out. But Juju is the guy that I definitely would want in the Steelers passing attack for week one. Another game at noon, the Eagles travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. 48-point over-under. This is the week to start Mike Davis. The Falcons have a tough early schedule, so Mike Davis needs to kind of really pan out for you this week? A little nervous about him with the addition of Wayne Gallman, but not this week specifically. I think he'll have a nice run. Obviously, you're going to start Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, and we'll see about Matt Ryan. He hasn't had success without Julio Jones, so we'll see if he's going to turn that corner this year or not. Eagles, guys, I'm starting Jalen Hurts with full confidence. This is probably a good week for Miles Sanders as well. Not a huge fan of the passing options outside of maybe Devontae Smith, but I do like Jalen Hurts this week against the Falcons. Next matchup also at noon, Vikings travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Revamped Vikings defense this year. They get a lot of guys back. They're going to run the football a ton with Dalvin Cook, maybe even a little Alexander Mattison. 48-point over-under. Bengals, I'm a little concerned about their offense. Again, I'm kind of staying away from Joe Burrow this week. I'm staying away from Jamar Chase. I think they might have some success, some glimpses, but I don't anticipate them having a really, really good performance against the Vikings in this matchup. Vikings, you're going to start them all. Absolutely. Cincinnati's defense is terrible. You're going to want to start Justin Jefferson. You're going to want to start Adam Thielen. Maybe even stream Kirk Cousins. I don't think that's a bad option either. Next matchup on Sunday, the 49ers take on the Lions. This is in Detroit. I am very worried about the Lions in this matchup. They're a 7.5-point underdog, 45.5-point line. I just don't think they're going to get a lot done in this matchup. I think it'll be relatively low scoring. Really like the 49ers running attack, especially Raheem Mostert, but Trey Sermon could get involved as well. Excited to see George Kittle back out on the field, seeing if he's going to really live up to that draft capital that he got in fantasy drafts throughout this summer, especially, going in the third round. You need to reap the rewards quickly. The Lions don't like any of their options in the passing game outside TJ Hawkinson. The next matchup I got is actually the game that I think is going to be the biggest scoring game of the week. It's a 52-point over-under. The Cardinals travel to Nashville to take on the Tennessee Titans. I like all offensive players in this matchup. I think Kyler Murray has a great game. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, even Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Chase Edmonds. Great matchup. Start everyone. This is the game that I'm throwing all my chips in. Play a lot of guys in this game. I think everyone's going to have a really nice performance in week 1. Next up, Chargers travel to Washington to take on the football team now. And obviously 44.5-point over-under, low-scoring affair is what many people are thinking. The Chargers are a 1-point favorite. I think this is going to be a really close matchup, probably very defensive focused. So I like the rushing attacks. Austin Eckler should be involved heavily. Antonio Gibson as well. Maybe a little bit of Terry McLaurin. I mean, you can start him and Gibson. You're going to start Keenan Allen. I'm not a huge fan of either quarterback, though, in this matchup. Justin Herbert or Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think I'd stay away for week 1. Jets travel to North Carolina to take on the Carolina Panthers. This is a revenge matchup for the Panthers because of Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson. I anticipate them dominating this game. They're a 5-point favorite, 45-point over-under. I really like the Panthers this week. I think Christian McCaffrey really gets things going, kind of back where he started. I think he's going to be the comeback player of the year, probably the offensive player of the year as well. I just think he's going to be an absolute man on Sunday. If you have CMC, congrats, because he's probably going to put up 25 or 30 points this week against a really bad Jets team. Do not play Jets unless you absolutely have to. Stay away from them this week. You need to see what's going to happen. Michael Carter, is he going to be the starter? Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman, you just don't know. And in this matchup, I don't think it's risk trying to throw a dart in week 1. The final noon matchup of the slate, the Jacksonville Jaguars takes on the Houston Texans. 44.5 over-under. 2.5-point favorites are the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is in Houston. Love the Jaguars in this matchup. James Robinson, Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Trevor Lawrence. Play those guys. I think they're going to score a lot of points this week. I think they're going to be really tough to stop. And it's also because I think the Texans are going to be very, very bad this year. They just don't seem to have a very good defense. Their offense is going to be completely suspect. They brought in 4 different running backs who are all considered veterans, whether it's Lindsey, Ingram, David Johnson. I mean, it's just a really weird running back rotation. Tyrod Taylor, their quarterback. Don't start Texans this week unless it's maybe Brandon Cooks. That's as deep as I'll go on that roster. But the Jaguars, really like starting their guys. I think they're going to win that game fairly easily. So now you got the afternoon matchups. The Cleveland Browns against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. This is actually going to be one of the more fun matchups of the week. I think both these teams have very high expectations. I feel more comfortable starting Chiefs players, though, in this matchup. I just think the Browns, outside of your obvious start, which is Nick Chubb, I would stay away from OBJ. I'd stay away from Jarvis Landry. Austin Hooper is kind of a sneaky name just because they're going to have to score some points, but I think the Chiefs are going to run away in this one. I love Mahomes in this matchup. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, obviously you're going to start those guys. But I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, also a great start, and maybe even a McCole Hardman sighting in week 1. That'd be exciting, I think, for fantasy football fans who drafted him late, hoping that the breakout is finally here. Next is the Dolphins traveling to New England to take on the Patriots. I like the Patriots in this matchup. I think both teams are going to play really well defensively, so I really don't want to start any of these offense players at all. I'm staying away from this matchup. Unless you absolutely have to, don't do it. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game, 43.5 point over-under. Stay away. The only guys I'd consider, maybe Myles Gaskin, maybe Damian Harris, but I'd rather go with one of my other options that I drafted later in drafts than starting one of those two guys in week 1. Next matchup, the Packers travel to Jacksonville to take on the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, the Saints can't play New Orleans this week, and they're going to be away from New Orleans for a while due to the hurricane. So, this matchup now in Jacksonville, long travel for the Packers. Great idea by the Saints, not giving them an easy travel. I think that's going to make things tough for the Packers, but I think this will overall be a good game. Jameis Winston getting the start. Marquez Callaway is a guy to definitely keep an eye on. Obviously, Alvin Kamara. I think they're going to be able to put up some points. I think the Packers will as well. Aaron Rodgers, obviously a good start. Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones. Sneaky start maybe. Robert Tonyan for the Packers. Had a great touchdown production season a year ago. Lots of people calling for regression. Who knows? I don't think we'll see it in week 1. I think he'll have a nice start against the Saints. Next matchup, and actually the final matchup of the afternoon window, the Broncos travel to New York to take on the Giants. I like the Broncos in this matchup, but again, 42-point over-under, low-scoring matchup. I think both teams will do show some positive things defensively. The Giants specifically up front do a nice job against the run game, so I think they'll do some good things there, but I think they're going to be very vulnerable in the pass game. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I like Jerry Jeudy. I like Cortland Sutton. I think they're going to have nice matchups against the Giants this week. I don't love Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams. I think I kind of want to see that play out, especially against a decent run defense. I'd just be a little weary about starting either one of those guys. The Giants side, I am starting no one on the Giants except Saquon Barkley because you have to. You have no choice. He was your first or second round pick. Got to play him. Hope that he catches a lot of passes if you're in a PPR league. So that's kind of where I'm at on that matchup. Sunday night, the Bears travel to California to take on the Rams. Another really interesting matchup that I think has a lot of intrigue for various reasons. The Bears side of things, is Andy Dalton their quarterback this year, or are they going to move to Justin Fields early in the season? We don't know the answer to that. I think David Montgomery is going to struggle against the Rams. I think that Allen Robinson will struggle as well just because Andy Dalton's your quarterback. I don't have a lot of confidence in them scoring a lot of points against this defense, and they're a 7.5-point underdog. I just don't see a lot of points in their future. As far as the Rams go, there's a lot of intrigue with Matthew Stafford. Is he going to be the guy that I think everyone thinks he is talent-wise? But we haven't gotten to see it. He didn't win a lot of games in Detroit. I think there's a lot of question marks still in his game. But I do think he's in a much better situation. So we're going to get to see Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. You're also going to get to see the situation play out at running back. When you talk about Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson, are those guys going to be a committee, or is one guy going to take the reins and be the guy for the Rams this season? lots of questions. I think there will be answers for the Rams, and I think there will be more questions for the Bears heading into next weekend in their second matchup of the season. Monday Night Football, last matchup of the week. The Baltimore Ravens travel to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. The beautiful stadium in Vegas is going to be a disaster for the Raiders. I think the Ravens are going to come in there, run the football extremely well. Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, both of those guys are going to run very, very well this week. I think Mark Andrews will have a nice performance with all the Ravens that are hurt. I expect the Ravens to win this game pretty easily and score a lot of points. So feel very confident about the top options for the Ravens. As far as the Raiders go, you're starting Darren Waller. Outside of Darren Waller, stay away. I do not think this will be a good matchup for them, but I do think Darren Waller is a guy that you definitely want to target just every single week. He's a surefire top 10 tight end every week. Most weeks, top 5 or top 3. So that's the schedule for this week. Hopefully it helped you get ready for week 1 of the season, get to know some of the matchups that are coming up, and also just allow you to try to win your fantasy league this season. This has been Run the League on 365 Sports.